Alien Romulus, the new installment by Fede Álvarez, has just been released in theatres, and it's a welcome return to form for the long-lasting sci-fi and horror franchise. In fact, it's a blend of the horror of Alien and the sci-fi action of Aliens, aiming to be an effective entry set around the time of those original two movies. For the most part, I really enjoyed the film, and other than some execution come the end of it, I really appreciated its return to what we love about those original movies, while making some steps to evolve it too. In this explained analysis, I'm going to be giving you my breakdown of the new movie, discussing full plot details, the ending, and much more. There will be spoilers in this video, so if you haven't watched the film yet, then I would recommend checking it out before watching my analysis. Before I get into it though, if you want to see more on upcoming releases like Alien Romulus, then don't forget to support this upload by giving it a like rating and subscribing to the channel. But without further ado, let's dive into my explained video for Alien Romulus. So Alien Romulus has finally made its debut, being the 9th chapter in the Alien saga and marking the first release since Alien Covenant. It takes place between the iconic films of Ridley Scott's Alien and James Cameron's Aliens, often regarded as the pinnacle of this franchise. Directed by Fede Álvarez, the new film promises a return to those roots, showcasing the xenomorph in a setting reminiscent of a pure horror movie, with classical sci-fi action included as well. And for the majority of its runtime, it successfully delivers on that promise. The story centres on a group of young characters striving to escape the grim realities of a Weyland-Yutani mining colony, and this intriguing continuation of the series is filled with nods and references to the earlier films, yet it cleverly avoids the familiar faces of Ripley, the android David, and other legacy characters, creating a narrative that feels both innovative and nostalgic at the same time. Set 2 decades after the events of Alien, the story unfolds in the desperate mining colony known as Jackson Star. Rain, a young woman left orphaned, toils away for the Weyland-Yutani Corporation, much like the rest of the colony's inhabitants. Her dream is to escape to Yvaga 3, a world bathed in sunlight and free from the toxic environment she currently endures. She looks after her so-called brother Andy, an outdated android model created by her late father to support her. And just as she is on the verge of securing her off-world transit permit, the company unexpectedly alters the rules, making her dreams unattainable and condemning her to continue labouring under the oppressive dark skies of the colony for years to come. It's important to note that Rain and Andy share quite the unique bond. As a synthetic, Andy was designed to care for Rain when her parents were not around. Yet Rain viewed Andy more like a younger brother, nurturing him just as he looked after her. Their relationship resembled that of a family, which does end up puzzling others in the film too, like the fellow android we meet later on. Typically, synthetics prioritised the core directives set by Weyland-Yutani over forming real connections with humans. While they weren't programmed to harm people directly, a divide existed between them and humans, leading to underlying tensions. So the bond between Rain and Andy in Romulus feels like a rare exception. Their mutual care for one another is evident, and even when Rain contemplates the possibility of venturing to the Sunny system without Andy, her deep affection for him ultimately prevails. When Andy's prime directive shifts later on in the movie, Rain begins to recognise the humanity that had been stripped away from him during the upgrade, reinforcing her determination to protect him. But we'll come to more on that as we get to it later down the line. Alongside Rain and Andy, there's also other crew members who right off the bat reform a long-lost connection with Rain. On a small ship at the start of the film, we meet her ex-boyfriend Tyler and his crew. There's Tyler's caring sister Kay, the skilled pilot Navarro, and Tyler's cousin Bourne, who has a strong dislike for androids. They shared their ambitious plan with her, which is to infiltrate a seemingly abandoned Weyland-Yutani vessel named Romulus Remus and steal its valuable hypersleep chambers, enabling them to escape the company's grasp and pursue brighter futures. The vessel is divided into two parts, known as Remus and Romulus, which partially clarifies the title's connection to Roman mythology. According to legend, Romulus and his sibling Remus were nurtured by wolves, equipping them with the abilities needed to establish the legendary realm of Rome. So other than just a ship reference, this might refer to Weyland-Yutani and what they ultimately have used the station to achieve. Not long after our main characters reconnect though, they do land on board that ship, discovering that it's in a dire condition as they search for the technology they need and the energy to operate it. To make matters worse, they stumble upon the remains of a gruesomely dismantled android, and with the outpost on a collision course, they have only a limited amount of time to get what they came for. That's because an impending asteroid belt will collide with the craft and obliterate everything in its path. Romulus's ties to the Alien franchise is established right from the opening scene of the film, as before we even meet the characters who travel up to that ship, we see that secret things were conducted on board prior. The first scene depicts a mysterious operation to excavate the wreckage of the Nostromo, aiming to retrieve the xenomorph that once wreaked havoc aboard in the first Alien. This creature is ultimately transported to a now abandoned outpost where the staff conducted secretive studies on it. This truth unfolds when Tyler and Bjorn arrive at the outpost alongside Andy, whose programming is essential for accessing the ship. They venture into Romulus's cryo chamber to collect fuel, only to find themselves trapped as the door seals shut behind them. Unfortunately, Andy is not the science officer of the Romulus ship, leaving him unable to unlock the door, while the chamber's frozen inhabitants begin to thaw. And this turns out to be a multitude of facehuggers, all let out into the water that our three characters stand in. Rain and Navarro rush in to rescue their friends, seizing a memory chip from the nearby ominously severed android Rook, who was a part of that Romulus crew. However, this character is a CGI recreation of Ian Holm, who portrayed the android Ash in the original Alien film. Rook's chip not only upgrades Andy's system, but also alters his prime directive, placing him in service to Weyland-Yutani's xenomorph harvesting ambitions instead of safeguarding Rain. He does aid in opening the door that trapped them in, but a horde of facehuggers soon chases the crew as they make their escape, resulting in Navarro receiving a chest-burster implant. Worried that Andy might threaten Navarro's safety, Bjorn and Navarro rush back to their small ship. Now, fans of the Alien series can easily predict Navarro's fate, as it isn't long before she experiences intense chest pains. And once back on the ship, with Kay hiding her pregnancy, Navarro's chestburster emerges, leading to her death. So Bjorn and Kay are left to deal with a newly hatched xenomorph. The chaos during Navarro's death sends the small ship crashing into the larger outpost, damaging its hull and pushing it closer to the asteroid belt. And it ultimately results in a crash landing on one of the outpost bays on board Romulus Remus. Meanwhile, Rain, Tyler and Andy fight their way towards the small ship, navigating through an outpost swarming with facehuggers. The young crew, stranded and desperate, soon uncover a shocking truth. The inhabitants of Romulus were conducting experiments on the xenomorph they had initially captured, along with the numerous facehuggers that they had gathered over time. Their aim was to extract the xenomorph's essence, specifically the mutagenic fluid introduced in Prometheus. Thanks to the reactivated Rook, the crew learned that the ultimate objective was to enhance the biologically vulnerable human species, enabling them to withstand the toxic perils of space. By leveraging the xenomorph's remarkable genetic adaptability, they sought to create hybrids that would endure the countless threats posed by interstellar travel and colonization. So the main objective was to capture the xenomorph in order to create a formula known as Prometheus 5, aimed at enhancing human evolution and equipping humanity to thrive in space. This formula would also provide immunity against diseases that had devastated the colony's inhabitants. Rook's primary mission prioritized the goals of the Weyland-Yutani Corporation over the lives of the crew members, and in the pursuit of advancing human evolution, the directive effectively disregarded the well-being of those already living. So this created a conflict for Andy, whose initial mission was to ensure Rain's safety and protection. Despite the inherent dangers posed by the xenomorphs, Rook was willing to sacrifice Rain and her companions for the sake of risky experimental research. much. Driven by Rook's calculated guidance and Andy's now programmed loyalty to the corporation, they focused solely on the liquid's potential to heal, leading them to seize some. So now in the know, Tyler, Rain and Andy head towards their downed ship to make their escape, but once there, it turns out to be far from a place of safety. Navarro's chestburster has matured into a fully grown xenomorph, leading to Bjorn's death and leaving the pregnant Kay injured as it drags her into the darkness, complicating the crew's attempts to board the ship. And as Rain, Tyler and Andy struggle to evade the creature, they uncover signs of a more extensive xenomorph infestation. Hearing Kay's cries, Tyler recklessly puts himself in danger to rescue her. And in a brave act of sacrifice, he confronts the furious alien after discovering 2 auto-aiming assault rifles, ultimately saving Rain and Kay. With Kay in a precarious state, she is sent to the ship with vials of the black mutagenic substance. Rain urges her not to apply it to her wounds and to enter cryosleep for safety, but Kay eventually disregards this advice. Coming now to the ending act of the film, Rain and Andy stumble upon a massive xenomorph hive nestled within the outpost. Armed with the assault rifles and utilising the ship's erratic gravity to their advantage, Rain skillfully takes down the xenomorphs while dodging their corrosive blood. Within all that chaos, one of the aliens manages to knock Andy aside, giving Rain the slight opportunity to retrieve Rook's chip from him and restore his true self. With this restoration comes a new mission, and that is to prioritise their survival. So together, Rain and Andy navigate through the swirling mist of floating acid, ultimately confronting and eliminating the lost xenomorph in an elevator shaft as they make their way back to Kay. But once they get back on the ship, and just when it appears that Rain, Andy and Kay are on the verge of escaping, Kay unexpectedly gives birth to a grotesque, elongated hybrid creature known as the Offspring. This nightmarish being bears a striking resemblance to the hybrid from Alien Resurrection, yet features an engineer-like face from Prometheus. Tragically, Kay doesn't last long, leading to a tense confrontation between Rain and the Offspring as she makes her escape plan. In a desperate move, she launches the creature into the depths of space through the ship's air ducts, and her and Andy board their own craft just in time, narrowly avoiding disaster as both the creature and the Romulus station collide with the asteroid belt. So with Andy now by her side, Rain charts a course for Yvaga. But with the ending and things ending in a place of success, this does leave us with many questions about the future of the franchise and what it could mean now that this alien-human hybrid exists. Initially, Prometheus 5, which Kay administered to herself without fully understanding its potential, is the catalyst for the creation of the xenomorph hybrid. Its name is a direct nod to the Alien prequel Prometheus, which featured a similar black substance capable of altering DNA and generating new forms of life. The engineers who created both the humans and the aliens may have aimed to eliminate humanity, but the evolution of the Prometheus 5 formula suggests that the black goo has been further refined since the events of that film. Also, when Rain ejects the xenomorph hybrid from the ship's cargo bay, the film leaves us questioning that new species' fate. It's worth remembering that the creature from the original Alien film managed to endure the harshness of space, suggesting that this offspring might also have a chance at survival. Xenomorphs are incredibly resilient beings capable of withstanding extreme conditions, and if the original Alien could survive for years adrift in space until it was discovered by a ship near Romulus, it stands to reason that this hybrid could do the same. Additionally, this offspring might possess unique mutations that enable it not just to survive, but to thrive in the vacuum of space. Therefore, it wouldn't be surprising to see this creature make some kind of comeback in a future Alien sequel. So the conclusion of Alien Romulus certainly paves the way for future installments. Rain's survival indicates that her and Andy's journey is far from finished. A sequel could delve into their arrival on Yvaga, where the space colony has a notorious reputation for being hostile towards synthetics, hinting at potential conflicts. Rain's vow to help Andy opens up a narrative thread that could follow her quest to fulfill that promise. The theme of corporate greed has been a consistent thread throughout the franchise, dating back to Ridley Scott's original film, where the salvage team faced similar dangers. The crew's expendability is a recurring motif, overshadowed by the Weyland-Yutani's relentless pursuit of profit. So regardless of what unfolds, Rain and Andy's survival opens the door for a new narrative surrounding the Weyland Corp once they arrive at Yvaga. But that was my breakdown and analysis for Alien Romulus. I do hope this breakdown did help some of you guys understand the film and the main details a bit better, and overall, I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts on it, so don't forget to let me know down below in the comment section. For more videos on upcoming film releases like Alien Romulus, then subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications. Also, if you enjoyed this video, remember to leave a like rating and follow me on social media via the links in the description. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I've been Cortex, and as always, make some noise.